Good morning, mediums. Welcome to another episode of Live here on Keystroke Medium. It's season 2, episode 54. I am Josh Hayes here with my co-host Scott Moon. We would have had Ralph, but he's vacationing in Spain, so he chose not to have a great internet connection. Today we are proud to have best-selling contemporary Christian author of the Cupid's Bow and First Street Church romance series, Melissa Storm. Melissa has been publishing since 2011 and was recently admitted to the Kindle Worlds program on Amazon, which is very exciting. Today, she joins us to talk about her writing journey and also her businesses, apparently, which we just found out about. So this is going to be a great show. Melissa, welcome.
Thank you for having me today, guys.
Absolutely. We have to give a shout out to a really big fan of the show, Lauren Moore. She's also, she works on our show notes during the show, typing those up furiously as we talk. And she recommended you to us to have on the show. So thank you, Lauren, for making that connection. And, man, I feel kind of off a little bit because we didn't have a Thursday show. So it's
strange for us because we were doing that 2 shows a week rhythm and stuff. And it feels weird. It feels like it's been like 2 months since our last show. And it was just,
it really does.
Things like that.
I really hope that we'll be able to kick off our Thursday show and bring it back. And because
that's coming back. It's just, we got to do a couple of things first, I'm sure. And, our pre-show, Melissa stayed with us after the pre-show. Not everybody has the kind of courage and fortitude to stick with it after see kind of how we get things done behind the scenes. But having that initial conversation, I think this will be another one that is going to be dangerously likely to over-deliver as far as our guests.
I like that, over-deliver. I like that.
Awesome, lots of good stuff, and probably keep us on our toes during this one. So I'm excited. And I have lots of coffee in me, too.
Yes, bouncing off. I finished off the pot this morning, which I generally don't do. So
I do. I push up too.
But Melissa, welcome. Thank you for coming on. For those of our audience that aren't familiar with you, will you share a little bit about yourself and how you got started in writing?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Melissa Storm, and I'm thus called because I married Falcon Storm. I used to write as Emlyn Chand, but in 2013, I had a near-death experience during my pregnancy where my daughter and I almost died. And surviving that and becoming a mom at the same time completely changed my worldview, what I wanted to write about. So I decided to start having more courage and just to write as me. So I switched from dark paranormal YA over to Christian romance and sweet romance and happily ever afters and books to show my daughter there's good in the world and that there's miracles out there. So I might not be what you think of in your head when you hear about a contemporary Christian author, because I'm very like chill and me, and I like memes, and sometimes I swear I try not to. I'm really working on that. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Like I'm a very flawed person. I'm very open about being flawed. I'm not constantly spouting scripture. I just try to live an inspired life and inspire others. So that's who I am. I also am a girl boss. Yes, my husband is a stay-at-home dad who works as my assistant from time to time. And nice. I own 3 businesses, more than that. I forget how many, a lot. Right now I'm working with a financial planner to kind of pare them down a little bit and to become a corporation, which is exciting. So I'm always on, always working. I drink Starbucks double shot espressos, like 3 to 4 a day, plus Diet Mountain Dew, plus water, because skin is important, especially since I never wear makeup and only sometimes brush my hair to go live.
We're the same way. Only sometimes do we remember.
Only sometimes.
Only sometimes. Special occasions, what do you call cosplay events, things like that.
Well, you guys look lovely as is. I just wear my glasses and my scarf so I can stay in my pajamas and look relatively put together. I also have 9 pets.
Relatively
I have 9 pets, and they sometimes appear whenever I'm live. I told my husband, who, like I said, he's a stay-at-home dad and an aspiring writer himself. I told him to take the dogs away, but it's possible my cat will come by and just insert himself.
I think
Cats-
we've had 1 or 2 cats. I know we've had a dog. We've had a dog. I can't remember how many cats we've had, but I know that we've had a dog join the show at one
We have
point.
never had a live moose, so
How about parrots? Have you
No,
had
we
parrots on the show?
No parrots. That would be a first. No parrots.
Oh.
we actually have some writers in our little group. I think we could probably get a live moose or maybe a bear. Or
I'm okay with it.
I think it'd be good to go in there. We're all about guest appearances. Those make for entertainment and whatnot.
Well, my Pomeranian's right here.
Oh, there you go.
Wait for
He
it.
was out signing books with me this weekend.
Dog number 2.
Dog number 2 says hello.
Cricket the Pomeranian. She makes it into a lot of my books. She's uncomfortable. She's like, Mom, let me lick your face.
I don't want to be on YouTube, Mom.
You got to put them out in their comfort zone, outside their comfort zone. That's how they learn and grow.
Yeah, she likes the attention. I mean, she was at a book signing with me all weekend, and I need to get a little shirt for her to wear with my author info.
There you go.
Yes.
I have a character in my book do that with her dog, and I'm like, why have I not done this?
Absolutely. Free advertising, and everybody loves puppies.
All the best laid plans. So I think Josh and I are both pretty new to the genre of contemporary Christian romance or sweet romance and stuff, and probably a lot of our watchers are not as new to it. But so what does it make? What makes? How do you fit into that genre if you're going to write a story in there?
Yeah, it's pretty flexible, and there's different levels of how strong the Christian element is. Like I said, I'm on the more liberal side. To me, it's most important to show character growth and redemption and learning and growing than it is to show perfect humans who follow dogma perfectly. That's not my books at all. So some people who are very strict with their faiths are turned off by my books. But most people identify with them and with kind of a more modern take on faith and Christianity. God is an element in my stories. Characters pray, go to church, but they also live real lives. They have real problems, real challenges. They make mistakes. They're flawed. My books are issue books. So, I deal with suicide, alcoholism, gastric bypass, hoarding, you name it. So definitely flawed people who, when they turn it over to God, find their problems getting better. But of course, it takes a lot of work. There's no magic bullet. Not even God is a magic bullet.
I wish there was for some things. It's like, for self-publishing, there could be a magic bullet, and we could all be best-selling authors today.
For sure.
So you mentioned when you first started writing that you were doing some dark young adult or dark urban fantasy. Do you want to talk about that, and then kind of why you made what was the catalyst? I know you said you had some issues, but do you want to talk about why that you made that transition?
Sure. I might eventually get back to writing that series and finishing it with my husband. So I'll try not to give away too many spoilers, but just suffice it to say, I was very happy to not have a happy ending to that series and to kill off main characters. And I laughed gleefully, and, I was like, they'll never see it coming. They care about this character. So a lot of that, and just enjoying the really dark, I studied Nostradamus a lot. To incorporate into this series. I studied world religions. Zoroastrianism and Sikhism are very heavily incorporated into the Far-Sighted series that I wrote as Emlyn Chand. And it's about teens with psychic powers, and there's a prophecy, and it's in the everyday small town Midwest. So it's kind of like a more blasé American version of Harry Potter almost, but they're still going to real school. There's no Hogwarts in that universe. And the first book did really well for being my first book out of the gate. It sold pretty well. It won a lot of awards, including Writer's Digest self-published YA novel of 2012.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
I got a lot of publisher interest and some agent interest. And then I got pregnant and was very, very sick. I had a lot of complications, including something that a lot of people don't talk about, but a lot of people focus on postpartum depression and issues after you have the baby, but they're just as common during pregnancy. So I developed obsessive compulsive disorder, and I still have it. And I'm an advocate for that. I try to educate people about mental health. But during my pregnancy, I didn't have the time or energy to work, to write, to do any of that, because I was so busy obsessing over everything that could go wrong, researching it, and just immobilized by fear, dealing with the complications, plus the new OCD, which I didn't know how to deal with yet. So by the time I finally got to writing again, 2 years later, I was in massive debt from not working as a self-employed person and having huge medical bills, because of course this happened before affordable care. Like by 2 months, it was ridiculous. And I wanted to write different things. Since I almost died, I really wanted to write about what if I had died? And I became obsessed with that question. So I wrote a book called Diving for Pearls, which was my first thing I wrote as Melissa Storm, about a mother who dies in childbirth from the same complication I had, and she becomes the guardian angel for the daughter she never met. So it's kind of about a mother's love from beyond the grave, and it incorporates elements of Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism. So it's a very pantheistic approach to angels in my own take. So again, really conservative Christians don't necessarily like that. Sure. But it's not about here, believe this. It's just about consider. What do you believe? Why? What's the right decision? How can you be close to God? How can you love others? So that's my goal. I never like to tell people what to believe, but just help them examine what they already believe, because there's no point in trying to change people's minds when it comes to religion and politics. It just be a good example.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Did writing help you through the process?
I write a lot of books about death, and my husband gets really mad at me because I make him proofread them. And he's like, I don't want to read this. I don't want to read this. I don't want to. And I'm like, you have to read this. And then he's like, why did you make me read this? So, I mean, in some ways it's helpful. I do write books to deal with my issues. Second in the First Street Church books, Love's Promise, deals with a character who had gastric bypass surgery, which I had. But then I had a common complication of the surgery, alcoholism, which made me gain my weight back. And I'm writing a character who's an alcoholic.
Oh, wow.
I've been sober since the day after the election. The day before the election was when I drank too much and had my rock bottom moment. It was a pretty stressful time in the world. So I've been sober for close to a year, but I'm a very flawed person, constantly learning, constantly striving to be better and to share my shortcomings to hopefully inspire others and just show them how much they can accomplish, even if they fall down. Like I fall down so much. Permanent scabs on my knees, but you can always get up and keep going and go farther and faster than ever. Fast is not correct for me because I'm a very slow person, but.
So
like, I'm having an echo.
Yeah, we're having a slight echo on I think it's Melissa's end.
Oh.
Do you have headphones?
Well, I didn't hear the echo that time.
Because we weren't having it before. Now
no, I don't hear it anymore.
Okay.
Maybe we just didn't give a long enough time for a microphone to cycle.
That could be because interrupting or something, but it sounds fine now, sort of.
Are you okay? I'm not echoing?
No,
I don't hear it anymore. That was maybe it was just like a fluke.
Anyway,
so I'm curious on when you started for you wrote the Diving for Pearls, and then that was kind of your intro into this new genre. Did you do any prep work before diving into that? I mean, it seems like it is a very drastic switch between what you were writing and to the new genre. So did you have to do some research, or did you just kind of, with the change in thought processes, did you just jump right into it and go from there?
I'm always researching and learning and growing and changing. I feel like if you stop learning, you stop succeeding, and it won't take that long for that to be true. But I wrote the stories I wanted to write, and I did a lot of research launching a new pen name because I am a marketing professional. So I actually created this exercise and wrote a book about it called Discover Your Brand under my name, Emlyn Chand. And I described the process that I did when becoming Melissa Storm and deciding what to write. So I thought of here are story ideas I really like that are my original ideas. here are books and movies that are already out there that somebody else did that would fit well with my brand. And then I looked for common threads. And I just kept working on it until I said, okay, you know, I'm writing women's fiction that's often romance, it's often Christian, but not always those things. And as I put out books and got to know readers, then I honed my brand even more. So I didn't set out to be Christian romance. I was actually pretty resistant to the idea of writing Christian fiction, being raised as a Pentecostal Christian and not really appreciating that upbringing. But the more I wrote and connected with readers, they really responded to the faith elements in my writing. So I decided to try it out. And I wrote my first inspirational romance, A Wedding Miracle, which is for another person's Kindle world, where a female rabbi and a male pastor fall in love. And they have to grapple with, are we the same? Are we different? Can this work? And I had so much fun writing that I said, okay, now I'm going to do a series of Christian romances. And that's where First Street Church Romances came from. And that has unquestionably been my breakout series. That's really gotten me a readership. And for the first time in like, since I started making money and actually profiting rather than spending money and losing money and taking money from my family to write. Now I'm actually, it's a career for real.
Right.
So, it's nice.
There was a question a little while back that Vicky asked. Vicky Malone Kennedy is one of our frequent friends of the show. Josh, you want to ask that one?
I don't know which one you're talking about because there's two of them on there. So go ahead.
Oh, let me go back a little bit further. What's the first one?
I think we covered the first
one. We
one.
covered that. This is a little bit of a jump back, but she had asked earlier, why is alcoholism common to post-gastric bypass surgery? And you may have answered that.
I didn't answer that.
With something.
Yeah, so it's very common because it's a form of addiction transfer. A lot of people, you know, yes, weight can be caused by thyroid and various issues. Mine has been caused in part from edema and back issues. But a large component of being overweight for most people is there's a psychological component. There's some need you're trying to feed. And when you take away the ability to do that because your stomach is itty bitty and eating certain things makes you throw up or nauseated, you need something. When you're feeling stressed, you need something to feel better. And it's just so easy to only have half a beer, then only have one. Okay, then 3. Okay, then 12. And it becomes a problem really fast. Other people have addiction transfer to gambling, sex addiction, shopping, which I have a little bit of that too. That predates surgery. That's just me being me. And a lot of us who are overeaters have addictive personalities to begin with because of those psychological reasons. And also after the surgery, your belly gets small. So you get, and they shorten your intestinal tract. So you get buzzed really fast and it feels awesome. Like it's so great to drink.
How much you pay?
But it can become a problem really fast.
Sure.
I went from not being much of a drinker at all to regularly having more than 10 beers or a bottle and a half of wine in a day. That took less than a year. So I realized the problem really fast. It took me about a year to identify the problem and stop. And if people are interested to hear about that, I'm happy to talk about it more. I blogged about it after I almost died. That's like a pattern in my life. I almost die and then I do something different. Learn when you're almost dead. I wrote a blog as soon as I had a clear enough head and picked myself up off the bathroom floor, and I wrote a blog, this is my rock bottom. And the next day I went to AA and I just shared that around. And strange as it is to say, that really helped my writing career because that blog post went viral, and that was not my intention. That was me just being honest with myself and reminding myself how far it had gone and that I needed to do better for my little girl. And a lot of readers found me that way, and a lot of people have reached out about they're going to stop drinking now, or they're the daughter of an alcoholic and thank you, and your daughter will thank you. And yeah, like I said, I like to keep it real.
Yeah. Well,
it's very cool that you are able to touch so many people's lives, not only through your books, but through your blog and personal experiences. That's neat.
I think making that connection, in life in general, but in writing, I think that's really important. I think that's one of the things why we get together as people and why we tell stories and listen to stories. And and because we're all trying to make that connection. We all have our, when you talked about the addiction transference, is that the term you used?
Addiction transfer, yeah.
I'm really familiar with that. I've seen it and had other forms of that sort of thing myself. And it is, because when you solve a problem, it doesn't usually just go away. It's almost like, I'm not a physicist, obviously. Josh can vouch for me on this, but there's a principle in physics that matter doesn't really, how's it phrased? I should ask Nathan or Rob this question, but matter doesn't disappear. It goes someplace. Something happens. It has to change. Water turns to ice turns to gas, or things like that. Well, it's the same thing with some of our negative behaviors, is that, you can stop overeating, but you're going to start smoking, or you're going to stop smoking, but you're going to start,
right.
And I do that a lot. I have some very compulsive behaviors that are, I'm sure, very annoying to anybody not on the other side of the camera, actually. But
so with your incorporating so much of your life into your writing, with these romances and taking these issues, are these generally issues that you've dealt with in your life, or do you go for any issue and tackle that?
It's really a combination, and I think that there's such a human element to writing in general. When I wrote a character, a vet from the Korean War with PTSD, I was just distraught the whole time I was writing that book, because I was getting into that headspace and living with that guilt and those nightmares and not being able to escape even in sleep. And in a way, like, as a writer, you take on the character's strengths, you take on the character's weaknesses. And for me, writing character-driven fiction, a lot of times I'll take a thread from my own life and pull at it until it's the right, this metaphor is falling apart.
No,
until it's what I need it to be. So, you know, when people say, which character is based on you? The answer is all of them. They all have different ways they're like me. So the vet, with PTSD and Cupid's bow, I've never lived in the 1950s or been to war or have PTSD, but I have obsessive behavior. I have guilt. I have regrets. So by taking those and mixing them in with just research and really getting into the character's headspace, it's a total combination of factors. I'm going to be writing a hoarder character in a couple of years, because I plan my series really far ahead, and I'm like,
wow,
well, that's easy. It's OCD, and it's the opposite of how I want my environment to look. But I gave her a really compelling reason to want to hold on to everything, which it would be a major spoiler for my series, so
sure,
I won't say. But just taking my obsession and compulsion and marrying it with, this is that character's motivation. It really is easier than you might think to jump in and just live a little inside that character. And usually I choose horrible things to live. I write issues-based books. So I think that's part of the stress I was escaping from too, because, I had just written a character who suffered with depression and was contemplating suicide. So I got to be that character for a couple months, and that's when my alcoholism really developed.
Oh, wow.
So it's a slippery slope, I guess.
Right. So what's the difference, I'm curious, between the First Street Church romance books and the Cupid Bow series? What's the difference there?
First Street Church romances are full-length Christian romances that are based around church and members of a small town. And they're issues books. So suicide, gastric bypass, cancer, there's always that darkness, and faith is a big element. Cupid's Bow is my sweet romance series. So there might be passing references to God, but it's not a Christian series per se. Mm-hmm. They are novellas, so they're closer to 20 to 25,000 words, and a lot of the times they're romantic comedies. So I like to alternate writing the two, because the First Street Church books get really dark and heavy. My readers always have their tissue boxes ready. I've done giveaways for fancy tissue boxes. The Melissa Storm will make you cry giveaway is one I did before.
There you go.
But to break that up with the lightness of a Cupid's Bow, just happy, easy. It's a very different type of story, but a lot of the same readership. So I don't like to let them fall too far into depression before giving them something to be happy about. Let's be honest.
Yes. Put them in a tree and set the tree on fire. That's my motto.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
so how many, now the First Street First Street Church Romances is now the Kindle World, and that launches on the 19th. Is that right?
Yeah, Wednesday.
So can you talk a little bit about that? How did that kind of evolve from your series to now being a Kindle World?
All right. So far I have 3, and I'm past my writing deadline on the 4th in the series. I'm being really bad, and I'm just waiting for my publisher to start yelling at me. But until then, I'm procrastinating. I'm gonna write. I find every reason not to. I even wrote a blog post, if I love it, why is it hard? Dedicated to my writing. So I have these 3 so far: Prayer, Promise, Profit. Very easy to see with my hand over it. In March 7th, I launched Love's Promise, which is the gastric bypass one, friends to lovers story, and lover, I'm just saying because that's the name of the trope since it's Christian romance.
Sure.
And I did a huge marketing push for this. I said, I'm going to make USA Today bestsellers list now. And before that, in 2016, I had made less than 2,000 royalties the entire year. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be a bestseller now, not part of a box set. I'm going to do it myself. And I got very, very close. I sold about 6,000 copies, and it got Amazon's attention. So they're like, hey, we've been looking for a person we want Kindle Press and Kindle Worlds want to work together more. We want to create synergy. And we've been looking for the right author, the right series to do this with. So how would you feel about us publishing this series and giving you a Kindle World so that it opens up new opportunities between our 2 branches? And I was like, okay, I'll think about it. And I was really excited, but I tried to be a little bit chill when I can. And it was a big decision because I had worked hard to build my readerships on iBooks, Nook, and Kobo. And this would be taking it Kindle exclusive. That was part of the deal. So ultimately I said yes, and my Kobo readers are mad at me. So I'm working on a new series now, the Sled Dog series, so that can be wide. And I'm even splitting my newsletter. So I have an Amazon newsletter and an everybody else newsletter so that I quit making my Kobo readers so mad. Because I swear I don't have that many, but they're very vocal, very vocal. Something about being Canadian, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, that was really cool. So I said yes, especially because it pushed my writing deadline back. So it gave me a really great excuse to procrastinate on my writing, which is one of my favorite things and one of the reasons I'm here with you today. And yeah, and then I just put feelers out. I said, hey, I have a secret. I have a surprise. That like always works with authors or readers. If you want people's attention, don't tell them what it is. Yes. I'm like, I have a secret thing I'm working on. If you write Christian sweet romance, PM me, I'll tell you about it.
Scott and I have been doing that for several months, and I think people are starting to get irritated at us. We've been
drawing out our secret project for a while. I finally went ahead and revealed that Josh got accepted to Chippendale Dancers. So,
oh, very different kind of show.
I'm his manager. I'm going to drive him around.
Man,
that's not. It makes for a good show. Anyway.
But it does work as long as you don't lord it over them too long.
Right.
I had to wait till the contracts were finalized. That's why it was a secret. But before I knew it, I had 200 authors join the group and be interested in writing for this world. And I told my Amazon rep, and she was like, "That's great, but holy crap, we can't launch 200 books at once."
Right.
So they said, we're going to do 20 for your July 19th launch, pick 20 authors. So then I was like, well, this is kind of against the spirit of everything I believe in, because I had to review writing samples and story ideas and choose the best people. So I was able to do that. I have a great group of authors. And then I said, so many people want to do this. I don't want to wait until next year. They don't want to wait till next year. Can we have another date, please? And they said, we're already booked for the next year. We have 2 a week. We can't add more. I said, can we do it ourselves? And they're like, okay, fine. Because you have so many people. They're so excited. We don't want to discourage that. So now we have 2 more launches happening in November with 20 authors apiece. And it just keeps growing. And the authors and I keep joking that there's going to be more books in this world than people in the small town it's based on. But it's been a wonderful experience. I can't keep up with them. There's so many authors. We have a group for each launch. We have the author group, the reader group. And they're constantly asking really specific questions, and I'm like, I don't write that way. I don't know I don't know how many miles between this fictional place and that fictional place. I just write the story. And they're like, no, but we need to know. So then we created my cover designer made this huge elaborate map, and they still have questions. So how many square acres is this? And how long would it take to, and I'm like, why do you need to know this just make it up. I don't care.
My answer is always enough. How many acres? Enough.
I'm like, I don't think that way at all, because I actually kind of have spatial dyslexia, where if I go inside a building and come back out, I'll have no idea where I am. I get totally disoriented. We'll be driving and we'll be 1 mile from our house, and I'll look at my husband and I'll say, where are we? Like, I don't recognize this place. I never know where I am. So I feel like I know my fictional town better than my hometown, which is probably actually very true.
That's the way to go. We should dive straight into some of the writing type craft stuff that's normally about, but do we have a sponsor today, Josh?
Yeah, we can talk about our show sponsor, and then I've got a couple
we got several questions,
audience questions to get to. So this episode of Live is sponsored by BZ Hercules. It's been a while since she has been a sponsor, so it's great to have her back on the lineup. Beth over at BZ Hercules has partnered with us to bring our audience, viewers and listeners, a 15% discount on all editing, proofing, triangulation services, and more. Scott uses her service. Richard Fox, I think, has used her. She's on my radar to use for another project I'm working on. She does great work. She has a ridiculously fast turnaround. I think, Scott, the last time you sent her a novel, she had it back in like a week.
Yeah, I've sent her some stuff, and she gets it, and it comes back she's much more organized than I am, apparently, because it comes back looking nice.
Yeah, yes. So the triangulation is a huge package of editing, proofing, and beta reading. That's put together in one package, and she does, like we said, very good work. So if you're interested or you're in the market, check out keystrokemedium.com/BZ Hercules. It'll redirect you to her site, and you can get that discount. We'll get to the audience questions here, and then I've got a couple questions of my own. The first one is from Vicky Malone Kennedy, and this goes back to you were talking about your novella length books, wondering if those are doing well, and can you compare those to how well your novel's doing?
They weren't for a really, really, really long time. But when my novel series started to sell, now I'm creating a fandom that really is eager for my books and really loves them and has fallen in love with my novels. So when I send a newsletter, I'm like, hey, here's a novella here I'm going to talk about. They go and buy it, and it's awesome. Comparatively, my novels definitely do better, but my novellas are taking off. I did a test, I want to say like 3 weeks ago. As part of keeping my Kobo readers happy, like everybody else matters too, but I live in fear of my Kobo readers' emails. Whenever I share something Amazon exclusive, I'm like, my Kobo readers are going to have something to say about this.
We have some Kobo friends, Canadian friends. Mark Leslie Lefebvre's been on the show. He's a Kobo guy.
Nice.
And we're well informed. They all play hockey. And so they could come and like side check you or something if you don't get them.
For real. You got to keep them happy. Don't ignore the Kobo. But I wanted, before my Amazon put out the third book in my series, so it was the first time something was going to be published as Amazon exclusive. So I wanted to have a book out there for everyone, something new, so that if they complained, I could say, but here's a new book. And I also wanted to see how much I could sell without promoting, really. So I wrote a surprise novella for the first time in a year, writing a sweet romance or a Cupid's bow. And I put it out, and I did one newsletter and 2 Facebook posts, and I just said, surprise, new book, 99 cents, it's a novella. And it sold 750 copies in the first week. So I was like, okay, so they like that.
Right.
And what I can reasonably expect to sell just from my list. So that was kind of research to my next USA Today run with my September release. But I was really surprised, and really happily so. And it also let me see my retailer split, where my readers are, because Also, it was a challenge to my COBA readers. I don't think they know how much I obsess with them over them, but I really do. Like, okay, COBA readers, I got your emails, I got your complaints. Are you actually going to buy a book? And they did.
Right.
I'm really proud of them. So I was like, okay, I can keep them happy.
You have a COBA award. You know, you could send them something, some sort of award, bonus, something. I would love to write a COBA exclusive story someday and put it out there just to see what happens. Anyway.
So the novellas are doing well enough that you're going to keep doing them.
Yeah. Yeah, by mixing them in between the longer works, it allows me to publish faster. And the novella series is 1950s, 1980s, and contemporary. It's a 3-generational family. So it's really flexible. There's a lot of open space for stories. I get to explore ideas. And like I said, not fall too deep into the abyss of depression from, even though there's happily ever afters in my Christian romances, I have to be really depressed for quite a while dealing with characters' issues. So it's nice to write a romantic comedy in between.
Right. So you mentioned earlier that you have a character that you have for a book that's planned out several years in advance, and that you're very organized to that. And I'm curious about that because I'm somewhat organized in that realm of knowing where I kind of, not exactly, but where I kind of want to put these projects in the next couple of years while I'm writing. And this kind of goes with another question that Preston asked. So I'll ask this question first and then tag his question on after. With all the novels and novellas that you do write, how much do you typically write during a week? I mean, do you have you're a full-time author, so what's your schedule like?
Well, I'm a full-time author, but I also own a number of businesses that I'm not sure of, 3 to 6.
It's always good not to know exactly how many businesses you have.
I'm incorporating, so it's all crazy. But so usually I write 0, 0, 0, 0. Oh my gosh, I have a deadline. 10,000, 10,000. That's very accurate. I want to write 2,000 a day, but usually I get so involved with my client work or writing a newsletter or designing a graphic that I fall behind. So I do write-ins with my good friend Mallory Crow, who writes romantic suspense. And we live nearby, so we'll meet up at the Starbucks once or twice a week and both aim for 10,000 words. She always gets it. I never do, but I get a lot more words done.
Right.
And I get a lot of coffee, and I get to eat their cheese and fruit box, which I really like. For a while, when I was doing a lot of write-ins, I started to lose a little weight, and I'm like, the Starbucks diet.
Yes.
Nice. So, yeah, I mean, that's just how it goes. Like, starting July 31st, that week through August 4th, I'm going to write a novella in a week. So I'm working, I know it's coming. I planned like 2 months ahead for it. So I'm not scheduling website clients then. And I'm going to my assistant's going to have a list of tasks to do and keep her busy. And I'm going to go to Starbucks every day and just knock that out. So, I mean, let's say 5,000 words a day is more likely when I set aside that time, which is ridiculous because I could write, I think my best is 4,000 words in an hour if I'm really in the zone.
Wow.
But I'm distracted a lot. So
do you do that through dictation or through just
for me? Apparently I have an accent, a Minnesota accent, despite never having been to that state. I live in Michigan. My accent makes it difficult.
Yes.
For his books. I just started using Scrivener because I'm such a major outliner. Huge plotter. And like I said, I have obsessive compulsive disorder, which is kind of a superpower. So I write a blog called the OCD Diva, with the good, the bad, the ugly. And there's a lot of good aspects to being OCD. I know my story inside out. I know my characters inside out. I can plan 4 years ahead and remember every little detail. So Scrivener has been great for me because I like the cork board. And the main thing is I used to keep my outlines in my Word doc. So when I started my write-ins with my friends, as I addressed each plot point, I would delete my huge chunk of outline and I wouldn't get the words because I'd be removing words. And now that doesn't happen with Scrivener. Also, I can make my book cover the background when I write, and I really like that.
Yes. It's always good to have that motivational inspiration behind. Scott does that a lot. He'll buy a whole crap ton of book covers and then go, oh, I want to write a story of this.
I do.
I have my book covers through like 2019.
Oh, wow.
Like, I'm having a bad day, I'm going to buy a book cover. My cover designer loves me. We went to high school together and we reconnected, and now she's my cover designer and she's great.
Very cool.
I've designed a couple of my own covers, which is not something I usually encourage for authors, but I am a full-time web designer and design a lot of ads and nice ones for this series, but I'm still not as good as my cover designer.
Yeah.
So the question that Preston had when we talk about writing all these novels and novellas is, how do you avoid repeating tropes and making the different stories stand out?
Yeah, especially that's like a question for any romance writer.
Right.
Well, that's the great thing about Christian romance is that because they're so issues driven, it really isn't repetitive at all. With the sweet romances, there's definitely more danger there. Like, I've written two books with rescue dogs in them that are sweet romances. But again, with the sweet romances, sex isn't part of the equation. And the reason some of the steamier romances can get redundant is because there's like half sex or a quarter of it is sex. And you can only have sex so many ways. Like, there's a lot of ways.
Right.
But romance writers write really fast and have their own particular preferences. I feel like I know steamy romance writers really freaking well.
Yeah.
By the time I've read a few of their books, like, I know what they like. That doesn't come into my books, and it makes it easy to write the sweet romances as novellas because there's a lot in common with the Christian romances, but I just took the issue out, and that removes half the story, but bang, there it is.
Right.
So, you know, I always focus first and foremost on my characters. So creating unique characters each time. And then you might look at tropes and locations and what you can vary. But if you make your characters individuals, the rest will follow. I will look at a list of popular tropes and say, I haven't done that one yet. Like, my surprise book was a mistaken identity. I'm like, ooh, I haven't done a mistaken identity. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like one scene out of a whole book. So
planning your books, and you say you use Scrivener, do you keep it all in one Scrivener file for, like, say, the First Street Church romance books? Is that all one world file, or do you separate that? And also, when you plan them, do you do recurring characters in that series, or how do you work that?
I am new to Scrivener, so I still haven't finished my first book in it. It's the one I'm behind deadline on. And I'm trying, like, my husband's like, it's because you try to do something new. It's because you use Scrivener. I said, no, it's because I'm writing a novella for the first time in this world. And it's really hard because this is my novel series.
Right.
And there are a ton of recurring characters. So the First Street Church romances take place in the fictional town of Sweet Grove, Texas. And it is Texas, but it's supposed to feel like it could be anywhere. And so the people know each other. There's a group of friends, there's relatives, there's the people you see around town, and I work a lot of them. So there's so much crossover in this series, even though each stands alone. It's not loose connections. It's like you might see 20 of the same characters in each book. Like, you go to the diner and there's Pastor Bernie preparing for his sermon.
Right.
You go to the auto shop and there's Tom Hansen ready to fix your car. You know, so you see a lot of the same characters, and I try to really plant that seed of excitement, like, so that they know, oh, the librarian Sally's love story is next. Oh, she's had a scene in all the other books so far. Nobody likes her. She's the town B-word. So I make her a heroine now. I have to make her like she's the town B-word, but she's also based on my friend who I do write-ins with, which really annoys her. I'll be like, listen to this description I wrote of this character I've decided you are. And she's like, stop.
Stop doing that. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting then. So are those characters that are reoccurring, are those something that is going to go into your Kindle World series? I mean, do you have a master document that those writers use?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And they'll say, oh, I'm going to use this character. Can I have a description? I'm like, well, I don't think I've actually described that character, but we have a world Bible. And I was able to give them like, here are 30 characters I've written about. Here are the ones that already have love stories or have books planned. And that's part of the reason I'm planned so far out, is because I didn't want my Kindle World authors to take something that I wanted to do. So I let them know, here are the characters, here's the title, because that's important, because everything is love something. And when there's 200 new books coming out, I'm like, please don't take Love's Salvation. That is mine. And here's the issue I'm dealing with. So like, this is the hoarding book. This is the alcoholism book. This is the vehicular homicide books. So they all have that and are aware of that.
So how do you you have a World Bible? Is that on Scrivener also? You send them a Word document, or how do you interact?
That is, we've created a bunch of files in the Facebook group, so they can go in and access. So here's the list of titles. Here's a summary and keywords for each of the books, including the ones I haven't written yet. Here's how people are related. Here are their jobs. So far I've read, I think, 6 or 7 of the books. I'm trying to read them all before launch. At this point, that's not going to happen. But a lot of authors were last minute too, so it's not just me. And I'm reading through them and I'm like, this is awesome. The level of talent these authors have, and just seeing their take, and some of the things I'm like, oh, I never wrote that about Sweet Grove, but that totally makes sense. Like, it's just really neat. It's really cool.
Do you, with the new stuff that they write, do you take what they write and incorporate it into the books that you write?
So no, those elements belong to the Kindle World. So they can take from my series and bring it to the Kindle World, because anything from canon can come to the fanon, but not vice versa.
I like that.
But I had a unique opportunity with this one, because people were already writing their Kindle World's books while I was writing Love's Prophet, book 3. So I said, okay, I need a business. I need 2 characters. And let me make your stories canon. So the authors who didn't mind giving up the rights to their characters so they can't take them out of the world, the ones who would rather have other people in the world write about their characters, I was able to make a couple of them canon in advance.
Oh, very neat.
Theoretically, I could do that again as long as my book is published before theirs. Right. So I can beat them to canon. So I did that a little bit as the authors requested it.
Kind of goes to one of Scott's favorite questions about secondary characters.
Yeah, my favorite question I always ask everybody is, do you have a favorite secondary character to write in one of your series?
Oh, I have a lot of favorites. I really like the character of Elise in First Street Church. Elise Nelson, the youth pastor. She's the bossy friend who tells everyone what to do. Like in the wedding novella I'm writing right now, Love's Vow, she's the maid of honor because she said she's the maid of honor, not because she was asked. And she's always trying to save everybody. And I'm really looking forward to telling her story in book 6, Love's Testament. I'll give you guys some inside scoop that very few people know, and it's hilarious to me. The pastor of First Street Church, Pastor Bernie Olson, he's always mentioned as having red hair, and people really love his character. He is my mom's cat, Bernie. He's a red tabby. I'm like, Mom, I'm gonna base this pastor off your cat, and she's like, all right. And then his wife's name is Tabitha, who's based off of another cat, a tabby cat.
Nice.
So, just like randomly, it's a cool, fun little fact, and people love the reference. Like, oh, cool, he has red hair, and I'm like, yeah, because he's a cat. But
only knew.
So I always laugh to myself whenever I write scenes with him.
So I want to kind of shift gears away from your books and hit some of your business for a while. And this is where I fear we may go over a little bit, or we may just have to do a complete other episode on this. But the one that really interested me was your book launch engine, where you say you're chronicling your launch for September. Can you talk about a little bit about that and what goes into that?
Yes. So I wanted to get on the course bandwagon because so many people were sharing what they know and making a lot of money doing it. and reaching lots of people at a time. I'm like, well, I share what I know all the time. I have all these businesses, you know, I obsess over all the data. My background is in survey methodology, my master's, so I really like numbers, which is another superpower. I have 2 superpowers, if you're keeping track. I'll probably add more before the show is over. But I wanted to teach courses, so I got really excited and I set up this course, and I sucked at it, and I had to refund everybody because I hated doing a formal course. I hated, you know, here's the workflow, click, 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 here's a slide. Plus, I have a lot of pets, and they always interfere. And there'd be a lot of editing, and I'd be so nervous. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna set up. First, I set up my ads engine. And I'm like, I'm gonna teach my existing clients who have spent at least $500 with me. They can all join for free, and I'll just start teaching them on Facebook Live. So I have this cool setup where I'm tiny in the corner, so they can see me, and then they can see my screen. And I never prepare at all, which apparently is good, because I'm just like, I know this stuff. I'm just going to teach it to you. Like, that's it. So they say it's like having a friend showing them rather than being in a class. And the pet interference becomes, I guess, a great thing because people have requested videos just on my pets, and it's interesting. And sometimes I make mistakes, or the system I'm working with crashes. So they're able to see in real time how even the experts have issues and how I correct for those issues.
That's a good one.
And in the ads engine, I let them vote. So I'm like, here's a list of 6 topics, vote. And then I'll teach whatever they tell me. And I'll take nominations as well. So from there, I said, well, now I'm going to be launching my book. Everybody followed really closely. I had a lot of followers follow my March list run for USA Today, because I was doing it solo at a time a lot of people were trying to do it in big box sets. I wanted to be the only name. Right. So a lot of people watched and waited. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it again. I bet you people would be interested. So I set it up and I discounted it. And within like 3 days, I had 200 members. So I give them 1 video a week, and I share my, my pre-order numbers and money spent to date. So far, I've spent $16. On a book pre-order announcement, and I've had it live for 3 weeks and about 500 pre-orders. So I haven't really done anything yet, but every week I tell them, and I'm like, okay, I did a couple intro videos. I said, what do you want to learn about this week? And they said, we want to learn about using your newsletter. And I said, that's great. Do you want to learn about graphics? Because I need graphics. So we can skip that video, or you can let me do that first. So we did a graphics video, and then we did a newsletter video. And next week we'll be doing a Facebook ads video. So as I prepare my assets, like as I write my newsletter, as I design my ads, as I set things up, I explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Some secret sauce tips and tricks, like I pull my newsletter. I say, you know, where do you read? Because I really want to work my iBooks and Nook readers for this launch to hit the 500 to list. So where do you read? And all the links go to thanks for letting me know. Why not buy my pre-order? And that was like just a way I was able to promote my pre-order indirectly. So I share things like that, ideas like that, efficiency tricks. Like as I was doing my Photoshop, I was like, well, here's a way to do like 20 graphics super fast. So things like that. It's a lot of fun, and people are following along, and I have one really dedicated student who takes notes and shares them with everybody. My videos are usually like 20 minutes on the short side. They're usually more like an hour. And my longest video to date was 4 hours, because that's the limit. Apparently Facebook Live is done with you and cuts you off at 4 hours.
Oh, good to know.
Wow.
And that one was really long because they said, we want to learn how to make a book trailer. So I'm like, okay, getting all the stock video, getting all the music, working in After Effects, working in iMovie, doing that. So that took 4 hours to make a book trailer from start to finish, like writing script, everything, no prep work. So I'm like, you guys asked for this. It's going to be a very boring video. I can talk a lot, but 4 hours is pushing it. But they like having that. Like they got to learn After Effects. So yeah.
That's cool. Vicky asked where we can find these instructional videos.
So my site, litring.com. If you go to the authors tab, you'll see the book launch engine and the ads engine there in the services and promo list. The ads engine is my big group. It has like 20 videos and it's always adding more. And ads engine's a misnomer because I also do a ton of MailerLite videos, how to design in Photoshop, how to design in Canva, websites, book trailers, everything. That one's $199 for a lifetime membership. So you get all the videos already there, plus all the new videos, plus you get to tell me what to teach. The book launch engine is $50. So that's a really good introduction and a way to learn a successful book launch blueprint using the base you already have and growing it successfully with each launch. Also, I don't remember what I was going to say about that. Oh, I put some free videos on my YouTube channel. So I'm on YouTube as Melstorm Author. And you can get there at melstorm.com/YouTube because I have an old profile. So I have the beautiful long list of letters and numbers and ugly link. But I do have a YouTube playlist, videos for authors, which is why I specifically asked about the timestamp, because I can double duty this interview and put it in my readers and my authors playlist.
Yes. There you go.
And what it's say it again, Melstorm Author?
Melstorm, MELSTORM.
Okay. I'm just looking it up now.
I saw you put the lit ring link in the show notes or in the chat, so I'm sure people can check.
Yeah, so I'm interested. I looked at the lit ring site, and it looks like in addition to doing a lot of those courses and programs like you're talking about, you also have featured books and kind of is this like advertising for books, or what's going on here?
So I've always been really great at selling to authors. So I wanted to sell to readers. I wanted to have a reader-facing site, not readers come to novel publicity. Like what? So I built LitRing to be the kind of book site I would want as a reader. So there's a lot of services for authors, but it's a reader site. We launched January 1st and are just about to 50,000 subscribers and growing.
Wow.
And so we have different genres. And we will do promos sometimes for a single genre, but a lot of times there's something for everybody. So every single week there's a giveaway, and we try to be interesting about how we do it. So we've done some pretty non-traditional things like a book trailer theater. We've done a Kindle Unlimited promo where, hey, tell us which romance looks best to you. You can get it free in Kindle Unlimited. All kinds of things. Like we try to be really inventive, and we do really cool prizes. Like we awarded the Amazon show before you could buy it. We've done the Echo, we've done iPads, we've done all manner of Kindles, including the Oasis, gift cards, reader boxes, those subscription boxes like Owl Crate, special swag, signed books. We have a reader group of over 4,000 and growing. That's about a couple months old at this point. So authors can come and do takeovers. So it's a ready-made street team if you don't have a street team. So you can launch to our group and do prizes for them, and they love it.
So I've heard the term takeover a few times. So what would that entail? Somebody, they just come and they are kind of like the host of
we make them the admin. So the way our takeovers do is sometimes we do theme weeks. We just came off of a mystery and thriller theme week, and we've also done a romance one. Next up will be fantasy. So each day there's a different author with the theme, and we'll design graphics and we'll promote it. And we make the author admin and say, have fun. And I've recorded a couple training videos for best practices so authors aren't too lost at what to do. Like, this is what readers respond to. This is how you make it about them, but also make it about you. Because if you just post buy my book, nobody cares.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You have 15,000 other people a day saying the same thing.
Yeah. So our readers love that, and they request it a lot. And we talk to our readers a lot. We ask them what they want to see more of. We do premium list builders where we'll put together a group of 10 authors in the same subgenre, and we'll create a shared drip campaign. So an 11 email sequence that delivers a free book and a note from the author one at a time. And that's driven not by our newsletter, but by Facebook ads. So for me, that was a way of monetizing my business's list growth. So basically, I'm putting in the free work as an ads expert, and the authors are paying for the ads to grow their lists. And once they get their list, I get it too for LitRing. So that's how we got so many so fast. So, like we have 10 sweet romances, and they go to the landing page. I run and monitor all the ads. I give daily updates. It's a lot of work. I'm kind of transitioning out of doing so many of those because the summer is super hard for ads anyway.
Right.
But I have this ready group of authors and readers where I can ask the readers what they want and experiment with things, and I can ask the authors what they want and experiment with things. Or if I have a random idea, like I did last week, I have a random idea. I want to do an experiment. Will you guys do this? Will you sign up for it? So my experiment was more high cost experiment, but I'm like, I guarantee this. I'll get you at least this result, and if I don't, I will back it up with my own money because I know this will work. And then I do it. And if it works, I'll make it a service. But we're always changing what we do. That's always been the case with all my businesses because first of all, when you're a leader, there's a lot of followers who try to imitate you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So you have to stay fresh to stay different.
Right.
And second of all, the internet and marketing both move so fast. You have to change it up to stay interesting. So yeah, always doing lots of cool stuff.
That's very neat. Well, I'm gonna check out the Lit Ring site most definitely after we're done here because it looks like a very, very interesting thing. And then you have a couple other business opportunities that you work. You do the website for authors and also novel publicity and stuff that we talked about earlier.
Yes, if you could drop the authorsite.com in the comments, I'll give any of your listeners $100 off their website if they want to book.
Oh, wow.
So what's
Awesome.
what's the link again?
www.theauthorsite.com. And I'm a marketer first, a designer second. So the websites come fully marketing integrated. I can install your Facebook pixel, Google Analytics, work to convert your visitors to subscribers. That's a huge difference. 1 in 4 of my website visitors signs up for my newsletter. It's almost $1,000 a month that I wouldn't get if I wasn't optimized. We also create a branding kit, so you'll get a logo, colors, fonts you can use for all of your work going forward. And I personally do a live video training with each author on their new site so that they know how to use it and can update it themselves, because that's really important for authors. You don't want to wait on somebody else to do it for you.
Right.
And I'm booking for August right now.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely include that in the show notes for sure. We are coming to the end into the hour, and like I assumed, once we hit the other businesses, I figured we were going to go over, and that's fine. I am interested to continue talking about it. Maybe we can set up a different time or a different show to come back and bring you on and dive deeper into what you're doing, because it seems like it's a really phenomenal thing that you've got going on for authors specifically and for the community as well. With the websites that you have mentioned, do you have a place where our audience can find out more about you and your book specifically?
Yes, melstorm.com. MELstorm.com. That's my author page, my author website, and I'm on social media everywhere. Yeah, but my website is definitely the best place to go you'll get my books and an example of my fabulous web design skills.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive. When I go to your sites, I'm kind of like lost in like a carnival. I'm like running around all starry-eyed, and that's kind of where I lost my question.
Oh, no, I don't want you to be lost. I want you to know exactly where to go.
I'll find my way, after I tromp around a little and break a few things.
Have to reel them in. Say, Scott, no, come back here.
Yeah. When we go out in public, not a lot of people know this, that I have one of those little leash things you have for kids, and Josh, he yanks on it and pulls me back, because otherwise I'd get into things. So, interesting visual. Just go ahead and keep that. You can have that one for free.
Yeah. You're welcome, everyone. Speaking of everyone that came out and hung out with us during the live show, thank you very much. If you're listening on the feed, thank you for your support. Really appreciate it. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do so wherever you listen or view us. That would be phenomenal. Let us know what you think about the show. Melissa, thanks so much for coming on. It's been a great time hanging out with you. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. It was great. I subscribed, by the way.
Awesome.
Cool.
We'll hang out for just a minute. We'll wrap it up. Next week, next on the show we have scheduled is Devin C. Ford, and then we have David Weber and Michael J. Sullivan coming up in the next couple of months. So look forward to that. And Yeah, it's been a great hour. I learned a lot, and I'm really intrigued to see, look through this Lit Ring website and see everything that you have to offer.
We can
there.
ask Melissa what she thinks about the super secret project that Ralph and I and you have been kicking around for a couple
Oh yeah, very cool.
Super.
Do I get a dance preview too?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, Josh is be more than happy.
I will give you one. Yes.
He also sings, so
I have dabbled in singing before in the shower. It's horrible. So thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with us. For Scott Moon, I am Josh Hayes. We have been live with Melissa Storm. Make sure you come back next time. We're going to talk about some reading, some writing, and of course everything in between right here on Keystroke Medium. You guys have a fantastic Monday.